Flag Day, 4:30, what a shambles. Hang your heads in shame. SPFL, Sky Sports, disgraceful behaviour.
How I feel is we're underprepared, but in 30 days, Celtic have got 30 days to get their act together.
The situation in the wide area is ridiculous. Like Marco Tellio still at the club.
The fake loving for Sky Sports this week that have been going around all the grounds to kid on that they care about the Scottish game because they've got nothing else to show on their TV.
Because the Premier League's not started yet.
Pathetic. See, if you want to really care, come to most of the games.
Callum, player of the year.
It's hard to say because I've got a feeling that it might be somebody that's not at the club yet, but I'm going to say for the squad that we've got now, I'm going to go...
What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is the season preview for 25-26. Callum and Darren are here with me. We're absolutely buzzing to look ahead to the new campaign. Callum, we'll start with you, mate. How's the summer been?
It's been not too bad. Been quite quiet, missed football. I didn't watch any of the Club World Cup. Absolute nonsense.
Join the club.
So I didn't watch any of that. But apart from that, I've just kind of been working and dying for the real football to come back.
What about you, Dan? Club World Cup?
I watched the final. As soon as I seen the halftime show, just all the music and stuff, and it felt like half an hour. It felt like I was watching the Super Bowl rather than a game of football. So I was like, nah, it's just not for me. This kind of Western, this American style that's kind of making its way across to Europe. I don't like it, so not for me.
It's like a Super Bowl, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Boys, only one place to start. We'll try and not talk for an hour. We'll be here for an hour. We'll try and not talk for an hour just about the recruitment, but it is the big topic. It is the thing that everybody's, I suppose, up in arms about across the board. And we have made a good few signings, Callum, but I think the consensus is that only really two of them you could look at as guaranteed first team players, and Kieran Tierney and Benjamin Nygren. What have you made of the business so far?
Poor. I want to elaborate, and then
we've got all night, mate. Elaborate.
Right. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I've been listening to Clyde One recently, and there's been fans that have been so indifferent of what they think. Some people are saying calm down, we've got ages left. I seen that we only signed one player last season up until the 8th of August before we signed more than one player. So right now we're actually progressing compared to last season. But I take it in isolation, and what do I think Celtic need? I think Celtic need a lot more this season than they did last season. Look, Kieran Tierney's fantastic, but we knew about him for probably last August. We knew that was going to happen. We knew his contract was running out. Benjamin Nygren's, I think, is a really good find for the club. I think he's somebody that they would be overjoyed with getting him for that price because his contract was running out. Because you could imagine if he had 2 years in his contract, what he would cost. It'd be a go-ahead Eagles situation again of just throwing like whatever it could, couple of cans of iron brew and £4 here, take him. That whole go-ahead Eagles situation's shocking as well. If you really want the player and that's what their valuation is, it really is as simple as, do you think that the valuation is what they've set? Do you want it? Okay, go for it. If not, move on. Or if you think it is too high, go closer to it, maybe £4 million. Does that tempt them to accept it or not? And then you can kind of stand firm where you know. But to go from like 1.5 million and they says no, we want 6, and then to go back with 1.7, it's just it's derogatory. It's and again, for me, if I was in that club, I wouldn't deal with Celtic in that manner, and that breeds off to the supporters, because it's almost like you're taking the mick. If that's the player that you've identified and you want, go and pay close to that money what they ask. We're not asking for ridiculous money. So Yamada, I'm unsure of. I actually didn't see the game that he played. I seen people were saying that he was almost like a kind of same version of Kyogo, but I don't want to label him like that. I want him to be here for his own right, and I know his season leading into this wasn't great. I think it was 2 goals in 21 games. In the previous season he actually got 19 or 20 goals. So look, he could be a success, I'm not sure. The boy that I'm probably looking forward to is Inamura. I think he actually looks like a bit of a diamond that we've found. He looks very calm on the ball, a very good passer from left back. Again, don't think he's played more than 50 games at professional level, so he's untested as well. But just very uninspiring, and there's a real cloud or malaise going into the game on Sunday. You want to be excited. One shoulder's like, I can't wait to get back, and the other shoulder's going, by the way, we've barely done anything to our first team. Celtic need probably 3 additions to that starting 11, I think, to really take that level. It was only a wee while ago we played Bayern Munich and we thought that we could get a really good result, and it was a really good result, and we went toe to toe with Bayern Munich, and you felt that team just needed a wee bit, like a Kieran Tierney, maybe 1 or 2 more added to it, to that real bit of quality, because we went in without our best striker in Kyogo, who's left, and now we've lost Kuhn as well, so we've actually went backwards. So, aye.
Darren, Inamura is a good example, right? Because Brendan Rodgers obviously made those comments after he arrived about him coming in and seeing what he's like and probably putting him out on loan, and then he actually drew those comments right back a few days later and said, oh, he's actually impressed us and he looked good in the first couple of friendly appearances. But I think part of the mood amongst the fan base is about whether Brendan Rodgers is being backed or not, whether these are club signings or signings that Brendan Rodgers really wants to improve the team. Do you think that is part of the problem here, that maybe, and I don't think this should be the case, by the way, that the doubt about Brendan Rodgers' future after next season is causing some confusion about what calibre and what profile of players that we bring in this summer?
Well, none of us know what's going on behind the scenes. Brendan said many times that he wants Celtic to be this competitive team in Europe, and he wants to go out and compete and basically play against the best. And he's not really, it's whether or not like he's saying that, but he's also contradicted himself and said, I'm just going to coach the players I've got. Well, I think we can look at the squad just now and say, well, the players you've got just now aren't enough for Europe. You can get away with it in Scotland, which we have for 5 years, but you know, we're banking on Rangers getting it wrong every single season, and eventually the time's going to come where they aren't going to get it wrong and they're going to be competitive, and that's going to be a threat to winning the league, which will set off alarm bells and almost feel like it's a reactionary thing to start investing in players when they should do it now. They should be doing it now while we're strong. I mean, I've got it written down here. Total we've spent on all these players is £2 million, and it's not a bad thing to say, look, okay, we've brought in Inamura, he was 415,000. That might, some people might say, oh, that's not enough, we want, you know, north of 3-4 million. He might actually be a good player, we don't know, because Daizen Maeda, Rio Hatate, Kyogo, they were relatively low fees for
Kyogo's
Japan.
4.5,
Kyogo's 4.5,
yeah.
but aye. But it's kind of, it just says the mindset that the club are in. If they feel comfortable, that if that's the kind of players that they want to attract to the club, also bringing like Ross Doon, Osmond from Fulham. Obviously, he's not going to be first team ready. He's 19, so I don't know if they're looking to maybe loan him out. But even the situation in the wide area is ridiculous. Like Marco Tellio still at the club, and he's playing pre-season. And then obviously we're talking about, so was it Udinese that tried to come in for him, and they're saying, oh, he's not allowed to leave. Rapid Vienna, sorry, and they say he can't leave until we bring in a winger. Well, at least that kind of tells me that they've slipped up and said that they are looking at getting another winger. The reality is we're going to start the season with Yang, Maeda, Forrest, and I'm missing something. I know Jota's.
Tellio.
I tell you, of course, and Jota, who won't be back till, I don't know, November, December, even longer. Obviously, the club need to keep in mind that we have Jota there, but he's going to miss
half the season.
European games especially. Yeah. That's a big loss for that. And what was it Brendan Rodgers said the other week, that he's happy, he's confident of Yang being a starting winger in this team. Just watch the Scottish Cup final back and you'll know that that's just not a standard that you want a Celtic winger to be, or a starting Celtic winger. I think, you know, he had those few games last season, St Mirren and Aberdeen, where he kind of looked like he was maybe starting to warm up to Celtic, but he was just hot and cold, where you just feel like you can't rely on him, especially in big games. So it just says a lot about where the club are just now. Obviously last season it was just like none of us seem surprised anymore. Like last season it dragged on the same way it did. Obviously they ended up bringing in Ida, who felt like an eternity, like we were never going to get him. It was going on for so long that it felt like we weren't going to get him, and obviously we spent £9 million, and I think now we realise that was too much money spent on him, and they broke the bank for Engels, which kind of calmed everyone down and say, okay, they took their time, but eventually they spent some money. Are we confident saying that we've got that feeling this season that we're going to invest in the areas that we need? Obviously, like as Callum said, getting Kieran Tierney back for free is huge. You know, we know what he's like. You know, he's going to do a great job for us, and an improvement in Greg Taylor. But you know, just like it seems that they're so quick to get these free transfers over the line. Like this boy from Man City. These rumours started the other day, and last night I'm reading from Fabrizio Romano. It's all but done in a few days. Why can't they be like Broom? Why can't we be linked with a player to buy a player and get it over the line quick? It really just seems so prolonged, as if they just don't want to pay what a player's worth.
I think just on the Jacob Broom thing, I think 2 bids. I wanted to say this when you mentioned it, Callum. 2 bids, 2 or 3 bids below 50% of what the club want is like ludicrous. I don't know if I'm misunderstanding something about how negotiation works, but I'm not sure that is how it goes. It doesn't seem joined up, does it, in any way? Like with the arrivals at Osmond, Brendan Rodgers' comments about Inamura, even when Yamada came in, it didn't seem like he is the striker and that's us done now. And if you look at the striker department, we've got 4 players there. We've got Ida, Kenny's still there. I know Bolton are interested in him. We don't know where his future's going to be come the end of the window. Now we've got Yamada, Osmond, who hasn't played any senior football. Like I say, without Nigel and Tierney, the rest of them, it's really hard to understand, 1, whether Brendan Rodgers wanted them, and 2, exactly where they're going to fit in.
Just going back to that quickly one, I can't even give the board praise for getting Kieran Tierney, because that's more of a deal in my head that tells me Kieran Tierney's pushed that over the line more than Celtic have managed to get him. Celtic haven't given him £70,000-80,000. He was on 90,000-100,000 at Arsenal, and he's cut his wages to come to Celtic in his prime. So it's more of him going, my contract's up and I want to come back. It's not like he was sitting in London going, I'll sign for Arsenal again, and Celtic went, oh, we really need you, there's 80 grand, will you come back and we'll make you the highest paid player.
Or that he would have a lack of options anywhere. He could have.
Yeah,
I'm sure
well, he did. I think there was like Juventus and Everton, Crystal Palace, there was multiple clubs.
Newcastle last year as well, weren't there?
Aye, that would take a chance on him. So for me, that's more of a Kieran Tierney of a personal to him going, I want to come back to Celtic, more than it is the board have put that olive branch out and says, look, we'll give you top dollar. I mean, he still will be on one of the highest paid players, but comparing that to Arsenal. But on to the 4 strikers, Osmond is not going to be ready to contribute at all. I don't think this season, as you said, he's not played a professional game at a men's level. Yamada, I'm unsure of. I don't know what to expect of him. Ida, 20 goals last season, but he's still hot and cold. He can have games where he'll go 4 or 5 games without scoring. He kind of needs somebody, maybe 1 in every 2 games at the Celtic at least, to be a main out-and-out number 9 to get you goals like that. And it all comes back to what frustrates me this summer. When you ask me about how was my summer, this is the part that I missed it. Just wanted to break the video in and not make people like having ears burn already. One thing that's irritated me and irritates everybody watching this video is Celtic saying we're monitoring the situation. You're going to need to get rid of that. That is doing my nutting. Stop telling me that, because I can monitor folk on FIFA and Football Manager. Doesn't mean I'm any closer to getting those players in the door. And near our Celtic by clearly looking, well, what is it, the 1st of August, tomorrow. And again, we're scrambling round. We didn't learn from last season. You touched on it, Adam Ida, £9 million, Engels, £11 million, Austin Trusty, £6 million. They all came in relatively quite late in the window. Celtic have been burned probably on all 3 of those players, if we're honest. We've paid over the price for them. Look, they could go and get a fee much higher than that in 2-3 years' time. Another thing that does my nut on is, this one's brought in for the future. Well, if you look at what the future and then the past, our past is Callum McGregor, Anthony Ralston, James Forrest, Kieran Tierney. But where's the next youth player? I know there's talk of like Bonner and McArdle and Turley, these coming in, but they're not getting the same time as what McGregor got, Kieran Tierney got. I know Tony Ralston comes in and he plays his bit part when Johnson needs a rest. But it frustrates me that we keep bringing these players in and it's like, they're for the future, they're not for now. Like Osmond, like Kenny. But where did they ever come through? We've listened to that for the last 10 years.
They go to England before they come through.
Well, exactly. So I'm sick of us focusing on that type of, we'll buy future, James, we'll buy future. what about now? You need to balance the team of, we need players proven now at this level, and that's why it gives me a bit of a worry. It's like the likes of Inamura, Yamada, they're untested. I get that the Japanese boys that have followed them or in the past have been a success. Not everyone's going to be a success.
There's been some failures
for
as
the
well.
next one, for Kobayashi, for Ideguchi, Awata, even though he was alright, but he never played, never made an impact what he was meant to bring. So that's like a 50-50 hit rate. So again, Yamada could be success and Inamura's not, and there's another 50-50 rate. So we're taking gambles, and I don't think Celtic should be in a position to be gambling, because whether we like it or not, Rangers look like they are getting stronger. They're getting players in the door, they're spending more money than we are. I looked at it, they've only sold, I think it was proper, and I think it was like nearly £1 million, but they've spent almost £12 million, or that might be euros to be fair. They've spent a lot of money because they've needed it, right? I get that, but they're still improving. So that gap of 17 points right now as it stands, to me, if I was to tell you at the end of the season and it was like this right now, I don't think it would be 17 points. I think it would be much closer. And Celtic have allowed that to be close. So our objective this season is to keep that 17 point gap. Can we improve it? We've got more money than Rangers. We're allowed to spend that. I get we're not just going to go all guns blazing and spend 10. But there can be diamonds found. There can be people spent £6 million. If go ahead Eagles want £6 million and that's who you want, pay the £6 million.
See, the feeling I'm having is, we do have more money than Rangers and they're spending more money. But I feel like Celtic feel like they don't need to spend. Obviously Rangers know that they were bad and they have been bad for years, so they need to spend that money. Feels to me like Celtic don't know yet that there's cracks starting to show, and that we need to invest.
This comes back to the question that we're going to go on to about the recruitment operation and how the club runs and how it functions and how it's a closed door. It's you only get in if you're a family member or if you're a pal. That's how you get in, because we had Dominic Mackay that came in 3 months out the door. He's the only guy for the outside of this like leadership.
Unhappy we spend too much money or something.
Aye, I mean he found his Juranovic, who's a really good player we sold money for, but the board obviously didn't like the way he operated. He didn't fall in line with how they told him what to do and how to do it. He came from obviously the rugby side and he had new ideas and just different ways of how to run a club, and we didn't like that, and that frustrates me that you say that, is that Rangers are spending money because they have to. I get that they have to, but also Celtic can't stand still. And we've been caught like that in the past. It's the same people. So why would you allow that to happen again? And I understand this is not even August, so we could get to the end of August and we could get those players that we are wanting, and then this might look stupid, right? But right now, as we talk about it, it's not, because our season starts in 3 days and you want to... Roger spoke about it at Sky Sports and he said, you want players in early enough so they can get into your pre-season, they get into the team, they're used to the players. The longer that happens, the better chance you've got of flourishing quicker. And last season, I think we won our first 16 out of 18 games last season at the start of it. And then you look at now, I think there's going to be a few more bumps. We've got Aberdeen away second game. We've obviously got Rangers in the fourth game.
Qualifiers as well.
Champions League qualifiers in between them. So there's a lot that's going to happen in between now and the end of August.
I just want to come in there on that, right? You've just covered a lot of ground there. The backdrop, Darren, is the finances that the club have got at the minute. 60 odd million quid at the bank at the last accounts. We've just sold Nicholas Kuhn. We've made money from the sale of Jeremy Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen at Liverpool. We've got more money than the club's ever had. And I think there's this perception from the outside that it's like, well, what do Celtic supporters want? I mean, this is obviously an overreaction. Like, they're so entitled, they win all the time. Like, what more do the Celtic fans want from the club? But I think you need to be a supporter to really understand, because at the end of the day, every supporter of every football club wants their team to get better. Are we supposed to sit here and say, oh, do you know what? We have won a lot of trophies in the last 10 years. We've won the last 4 league titles in a row. We've done well in Europe last season. Do you know what? We'll just coast this season. We'll just accept it, despite the fact the club are sitting on a huge amount of money. We're not really bothered about getting better, and we're not really going to react about it. We're calm. Doesn't matter. We've been winning. We don't need to get better. I don't know if that's how people on the outside think that we should be reacting. But at the end of the day, the club have these resources that have been built up. Yes, off the back of a really successful period and multiple, I think 3 back-to-back Champions League campaigns now. we have a qualifier to navigate this season. The coefficient is going to change in the next 2 to 3 years, and it looks like it will become much more difficult to qualify for the Champions League. But surely, and I think this is a gripe for most of us, surely, like always with Celtic, you have to speculate to accumulate. You have to use the resources you've got to get better players on the pitch to keep moving forward.
Aye, and I can kind of see why other supporters of other teams would see that kind of sense of entitlement, like we're so successful. But when you brought it up there, the first thing that came to my mind was we were that close to a treble, right? And I think back to that game, when the game's in the balance, we're bringing Johnny Kenny on for Adam Eder, and the reason we're doing that is because we let Kyogo go in January, and we didn't even attempt to replace him. So we got 10 million from him. We didn't reinvest it in another striker, and that's like the small differences. I feel, don't get me wrong, we could have signed another striker and still lost that final. Like, it's easy just to speculate those things, but that's the kind of reason why I feel like we're not kind of progressing. As you say, you always want, it doesn't matter how good your squad is, you always want, in every position, you always want 2 competent players in every single area. Like, I look at us last season there in the left back area, Greg Taylor for the start of the season. Eventually we get Jeffrey Schlupp on loan, and again, none of us are just on a 6-month loan. Like, that's just not improving the squad whatsoever. In May he's going to go back down to England, and the guy's in his 30s. Like, no one's really going to expect him to play ahead of Greg Taylor, and I think it did play a bit over Greg Taylor, and he was playing well. For some reason it just dropped off face of the planet. It was Greg Taylor in there again, and then and you can talk about it in every area of the park. Obviously you want 2 starting centre backs, 2 defined starting centre backs. Right now we've got Carter Vickers, and for me the other one will be Trusty. Obviously opinions split on him, but we spent good money on him. But again, you've got Naroki, who again we spent money on, and we're sending him out on loan, but we've still got Stephen Welsh in the squad. We've got Dane Murray, who played pretty much all of pre-season, and now we're looking at bringing in a 19-year-old on loan. Like, it just doesn't make sense. How is that improving the squad in any way? For me, I've not seen this boy kick a ball yet, but I'm saying right now I would rather have Naroki play than this guy. And then at least they had Lager Bielka out the door. I think he left for 2.5 million. Again, he hardly ever played a minute, and it seemed like we never really had a chance to see if he was good. And obviously he played a lot at the start of the season. I don't think he even lost a game at the start of the season, but Brendan Rodgers, for whatever reason, just decided
Season before last,
and Brendan Rodgers just said, no, I don't want him in my squad. So like, this whole always wanting to improve, in this mantra that Celtic have had of investing in young players for the 1 to 2.5 million mark does work sometimes. Your Matt O'Reillys, but eventually you're going to move them on after a couple of years, and as Callum says, you're taking a gamble bringing in someone of that one point. You can't get it right every single time, and it can only carry on for so long before it'll implode.
You made the point about the cup final there, and Johnny Kenny coming on, and see if you look at the team we ended up finishing the cup final with. Greg Taylor was in midfield, Yang was out wide, Johnny Kenny was up front, was James Forrest playing off the left hand side.
I think he came on, they get injured,
and back off again. The 11 that finished the cup final was like thrown together. It was like an 11 you would never have imagined Celtic would ever field, let alone like the team to try and close out a treble. And I think, again, to come back to what it is that Celtic fans are looking for, we can't keep going into windows and losing key players and then coming out of the window weaker than we went into it. It's always the thing we say, that we want to be stronger by the time the window's finished. I think you need to go back a few windows now, Callum, to find a really strong window where we visibly improved. We've lost a lot of key players. Kuhn this summer, which is a lot of goals. Kyogo in January, which again is a lot of goals, despite the fact that he did have the sort of dip after Rodgers arrived. Matt O'Reilly last season, who in the previous season scored a lot of goals.
Phenomenal.
We keep losing key players, and there is this feeling that we're not finishing transfer windows stronger than we went into them.
Well, it's certainly not a feeling, it's facts. Celtic you just spoke about the team that finished the cup final. That squad and this squad now is weaker. The squad that we've got right now is currently weaker than the squad that we had to utilise against Aberdeen in the cup final. That's true, and again, that just frustrates me that we're in that situation that we've never had as much money as we have now, and yet we just seem to ponder about. And you're saying about these players and for me, what's the point of Dane Murray being here? Genuinely, because he's played all pre-season and it's, he looks good.
He'll not kick a ball.
He's not got a
football.
sniff at a chance at playing for Celtic in a competitive game. No way is he playing, because again, the boy for City, they've obviously put it in his clause that he's going to need to play game time here. So he's going to need to play. Trusty's 26. He's also competing for the World Cup in the summer. He's going to play. Liam Scales is obviously going to want to try and get his way into that team as well. So
we're going to start the season with 6 centre backs basically.
Well, I wouldn't say 6 centre backs, because I think Dane Murray's probably not going to get game time. Obviously with Simpson Pusey coming in, he's going to take his spot, and then the likes of Stephen Welsh, does he stay for the homegrown quota, or does he move on? Did you say he was 25? So he's kind of got to.
He's in his prime. He should be playing first team football.
Aye, but he keeps getting injured all the time. So, I'm not sure if they two boys are going to play, because it looks like Pusey's going to need to play game time. That Man City will.
CCV always gets injured at some point as well. Like, he can never play a full season. It seems to always be like the crucial times of the season as well that he gets injured. So.
Aye, and again with Trusty coming up for the World Cup. He's going to want to try and make it. And to be fair to Trusty, he's actually been pretty good in pre-season. But again, it is pre-season. He's going to be tested. The bread and butter games, likes of St Mirren, when they're going to throw hammer throwers at us on Sunday, and that works for them, which is fine. I'm not having a go at them. They obviously struggled last year against, was it Dundee? Rodgers came out and kind of slated him a little bit, saying he was too soft.
Weak as piss.
That was the word there. There you go. I forgot. So that's going to be probably. It'll be Carter Vickers and Pusey coming in, but it'll be interesting to see if we do anything more than that.
I want to move it on, right, because we'll be here all night talking about transfers as we could do. Briefly as you can, Darren, what do we need to be satisfied by the end of the window?
Well, I wrote down 3 to 4 starting 11 players. Was the chances of that? Very, very unlikely. I also put north of 2.5 million each player.
What positions?
Well, winger, for sure.
4.
4 wingers.
2? 2
wingers. 2 wingers, and obviously we need to move on Tellio, so get 2 wingers in, get Tellio. That I would be content with that. Obviously up front now you've got this conundrum with Yamada of he's a 1.4, 1.2 million pound player, and you've got Adamida who's a £9.5 million player. So realistically, Adamida is going to be the main man. Are we happy for Adamida being the main man for 60 games a season? Callum touched on it. He can get you a goal here and there, but he's not guaranteed to get you into that kind of, 30-40 striker type situation. And I would probably say another defensive midfielder, because I think we can all agree Callum McGregor's getting a bit on in his career as well. Don't want him playing 60 odd games a season. So when you start getting injuries, or you get a dip in performance, so kind of rough and tough number 6 just sits back, gets your possession back, tackles, doesn't bother getting up the pitch.
I think we need to be careful with Callum McGregor in terms of he's such a key player for us, but we're actually quite reliant on him. I mean, he doesn't perform. You could argue that we don't perform as a team. And as the years go on, was he 31, 32? How many more seasons are we going to get at full tilt out of Callum McGregor? And we don't want it to get to the stage where he can't produce that high level anymore as he enters his later years of his career, and we're still over-reliant on him. So I think we need to be careful and really need to plan around that. But we've talked about the recruitment so far, and actually thinking about Callum McGregor, maybe winding down as the next 2 or 3 years go on, is way down the list in terms of the things we've got to do in the rest of this window. Callum, I want to pull a message out of the Celtic Fans TV WhatsApp, talking about the squad. I put in the other night there, if you look at the squad as it stands right now, if Dice Maeda doesn't have another stormer of a season, who are you looking at as the person, the player you turn to, as a match winner, somebody you know you can rely on in the big moments? Because right now, especially in the attacking areas of that squad, struggle to really get excited.
It's going to need to be either. It's going to need to be, because he's the one that got 20 goals. Behind that, then would be Arnie Engels. I think he get the most. Outside of that, I know Kuhn's away, so Kuhn's get more, but we're not counting Kuhn anymore. Jota would have chipped in. I actually don't think Jota will play much of the whole season, because when you think we've not got a pre-season in January either, so he's going to be way behind. January comes, they're going to maybe need to take a month maybe 6 weeks to just get him up to game speed. Then you're getting to the split fixtures,
and
they're probably not going to risk him in the split fixtures. You just keep him for the following season. So Jota's almost going to miss a whole season as well. That's why I think genuinely when I said 4 wingers, we probably could be doing it if you're going to then let Tillio go as well.
An argument that Yang could go as well.
Well, Yang's rumoured to wanting first team football, and if we don't get any wingers, then he's guaranteed it here, which is a nightmare, because I am not his biggest fan. So it's probably going to need to be Adam Eder that will really need to step up. He's 24 years old. He's found it hot and cold between all the clubs that he's been at with Norwich, and then he's been on loan, and then at Celtic. He's a bit of a hit and a miss, and Celtic can't afford to have a hit and a miss. So that kind of concerns me big time. We need to get, who I would say is, I don't know the answer, but the answer is it's somebody that will be coming into the club. That's what I'd say. So I don't know what that player is or what his name is, but whoever comes into the club I think will be one of the key players, because I think we do need to spend a bit of money on that. Rodgers said that anyway, that we need to spend a good bit of money on the attacking line because it's been depleted quite heavily. So I'll say that it will be somebody that still isn't in the doors yet.
Right, moving on then. That'll do us for recruitment tonight. We've got a Champions League qualifier coming up. The draw is on Monday. The list of possible opponents is on your screen now. So Dynamo Kiev or Paphos, Karabag or Skendija? Pass on the pronunciation of that one. Slovan Bratislava, who played last season, or Kairat, and FC Basel or Sturm Graz. MD jump out at you there that you want to avoid, Dan?
Sturm Graz and Basel, definitely. Obviously, quite, leagues similar to ours, I would say, in, stature around Europe, Switzerland and Austria. I think Sturm Graz, they won the league last season, and the teams in the league, Salzburg, hugely financial backed by like Red Bull. So you see them in the Champions League every year. They kind of always seem to show up and pull out a big result for them. So Sturm Graz must obviously not be a pushover, and then Basel, Swiss champs as well, guys like Shaqiri and that in their team. So teams like that you want to avoid. You look at Slovan Bratislava and that game last season, obviously 5-1, probably could have been a lot more. You could see a big quality difference in there. So I'm kind of looking at them saying, their teams I want to look to get, and obviously the other teams we don't really know too much about them. So, but we always assume that we can beat them because it's we're Celtic, mate. We can beat MD. So I suppose you can't really be too picky. You're just going to get who you get, and need to go out and confident, assume that we can beat whoever.
Callum, these ties are awkward, and Celtic have made a pig's ear of a lot of them over the years. Is there any there that you'd feel more comfortable with?
The one that I look at straight away is Slovan Bratislava. I think it's the most comfortable, I feel. The other teams, again, like the likes of Paphos, I don't think they're probably going to beat Dynamo Kiev. So if I'm honest, I think I see it: Dynamo Kiev, Karabag, Bratislava, Basel and Sturm Graz. That'll be the 5 options. And out of those 5 options, I probably think Bratislava. Karabag's tricky. We went there last time. Remember, Scott Brown was almost fighting with somebody at the end of the game, and him and Virgil van Dijk were pure buzzing that they had won that tie. So it was a difficult game that we played. Dynamo Kiev can be sticky. Can just be, you don't know how their summer windows went. They seem to be a club that can spend a lot of money, or they can't. Obviously, we've seen that they put out Rangers as well, and they didn't even look that great. So again, that can be a tricky one. Basel and Sturm Graz are a bit closer to home, and you probably give them a bit more respect, so you see them as a harder challenge. But again, Basel doesn't really freak me too much. They've not won the Swiss League in a long time. I know they've just won it there, but before that they hadn't won it in a wee while. And again, they've got people like Shaqiri, wee bits of quality, but I don't really fear them as much as maybe I do Sturm Graz. Is like the dark horse, is somebody that I don't know too much about.
That's probably the one team, Sturm Graz, that I would like to avoid. Maybe
stay away, but Bratislava feels most the easiest for me, is just because I know what they're like, and I don't think that they would have went and spent a fortune, because I remember listening to the preview video that you done, I'm sure, with one of the fans before we played them. I remember them saying that like the money's major to them, and they'll try and bank it, but they don't really reinvest it as heavily. So that feels like the easiest tie to me.
The only thing I'd say about Bratislava is we didn't need to play them away from home last season, so again you'd maybe think decent atmosphere could be awkward.
I watched a lot of their games, And again, Celtic were actually the only team to take 5 goals off Bratislava in the whole tournament. Nobody else took them, and they came up against AC Milan. AC Milan only won 3-2.
Well, they got a terrible draw, didn't they? They had pretty much one of the best teams in Europe every single week.
Aye, so
did
again,
they finish with 0 points?
Bratislava, they didn't get anything. And I know that I can't remember. I think they maybe played like Atletico Madrid as well. I think Atletico only won 2-1 there as well. So that can be a tough tie as well. But I just think that at Celtic Park and having that in their head, I think that's kind of a hard tie. I think Bratislava will be picking Celtic as the one they don't want out of all the other options they've got, is the one they'll fear the most.
Darren, the big thing apart from making the Champions League, because that's where we all want to be and the financial benefit that provides, the big thing psychologically as well, if we were to go out in this Champions League playoff, I think the blowback, given how the window's going at the minute, and the mood around the club, it would take a turn for the worst if we fail in this qualifier.
I feel like we made so much progress last year. Obviously the format helped us qualify, and the draw was quite favourable, which enabled us to get to the knockout rounds. Obviously didn't get very far, but had a really pushed Bayern Munich all the way. Very good team, obviously German champions. I don't think they get put in the quarterfinals off. Was it Real Madrid or Man City put them out? Yeah. So that's like, when you do well like that season, which, what was the first in 14 years or something we got to the knockouts. So you kind of want to keep that train rolling. You want the momentum. I feel like it would be such a waste if we went out in the knockout stages after such a good year last year and feeling like if we, the group stage, which could favour us again this year, getting 8 fixtures, travelling to, like, playing 7 different, do you play 8 games or do you play 7?
8 games.
Play 8 games, playing 8 different teams again, rather than, your usual 3 home and away. Gives us that chance to kind of compete against, like, other, like, teams that we maybe didn't get a chance to compete against.
Closer to our level.
Aye, closer to our level as well, but even just, like, a couple of, like, maybe 2 big teams that we, because the 2 teams we got from Pot A, I can't remember.
Atlanta and Dortmund.
Aye, Atlanta and Dortmund, obviously 2 big teams, but we never got like a European giant until we got to Bayern Munich. And, even though we go into the games thinking we're not going to win against the European giant, it's still a great occasion to go to Celtic Park to watch like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or whatever. It's still something that, we never had for so many years. And then last few seasons we got against like Real Madrid, and then obviously I think
I've had Barcelona so many times.
Aye, but it's a different Barcelona team, so it'd be good to see like guys like Yamal and stuff.
If we don't get them this year, maybe next year we can go to their stadium.
New stadium. Right, Champions League included then, across the board, Callum. Want to get both of your opinions on what are the expectations this season? What constitutes a good season?
It's hard to answer, considering I don't know what the Celtic squad will look like in 30 days' time. That could have a major impact on what I say now to what I would say later on. What I would say now is Celtic are underprepared. They're nowhere near the level. I feel like it's more of a balance. I would say right now how I feel is probably 60-65% against these teams in the qualifiers. I feel that we can beat them, but that 30-40-35% is a big chunk to give to one of these teams, whereas if this was last season, I'd maybe swing that in like an 80-20 favour of us. I felt way more comfortable. So that's probably how I feel, and I would need to probably get like 3, probably 4 players that can get into that starting 11 or can push players, really push them into giving the manager a headache. And that's what you should have. You should have that issue of having a headache, not having a headache of my best players just sold again, my best players just been taken away again. Like, and that's my worry now, that we spoke about this off camera as well, that just quickly, is that Celtic's maybe coming to the end of an era slowly. When you look at like Brendan Rodgers' best players, it's Hatate, it's not his player. Dyson Maeda, it's not his player. He didn't bring them to the club originally. So the money that he has spent, who is it that really stands out and goes, that's who he bought and he's really good for us, he's really pivotal to the Celtic team? It's not. So maybe this is why maybe the board aren't spending money, and I'm not signing up for the board, by the way, absolutely not. Because they do need to give him money. Again, he's got 1 year left, and people might say, but we might not want to give him that money because he might be leaving. Who cares? We build the team for now and for the future. That's what we keep getting told. So how I feel is we're underprepared, but in 30 days, Celtic have got 30 days to get their act together. They've got the money, they've got all the possibility and all the research and all the staff to pick out players. So I'd say pull your finger out and get the players that Celtic need to have a chance at Champions League, because last year our group format was favourable. Let's be fair, it was favourable. It might not be so favourable this time. You could land with a Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid in pot A, and then a pot 2 could be a Atletico Madrid and I don't know, like a Juventus or something, or Inter Milan or somebody like that. So again, we do need to build on what we had last year, and I think we're quite far from that.
Darren, briefly before we look ahead to Sunday's game, what's a good season?
The whole picture?
Yeah.
Again, it's a hard question, because I kind of agree with Callum, like you need to see what squad's like in 30 days. Obviously the league is essential. I feel like every season you say that, but you always kind of need to compare it to last season. Like, how can you improve from last season? Apart from last season, the season before when we won a treble, we say, oh, how can we improve? It needs to be in Europe. Last season we did make an improvement in Europe, but obviously losing the cup final was a huge blow, considering, like, I don't want to say Aberdeen were a bad team, but it just felt like all in the world, it felt like we were going to win that cup final, and maybe we did just get a bit complacent, and that cost us a treble. So a good season for me, I don't know, like, league obviously, one of the cups, and knockout stages of Europe. I want to be bold and say a treble. A treble would be an amazing season. But what I just said there, as in the league, at least one of the domestic cups and knockout stages, that for me is a good season.
Just one for you, Paul, really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Would you take this or the other option that I'll give you? Celtic win a treble, but get put out the Champions League in the qualifiers, and then get to Europa League and maybe get it put out in the next last 32? Or do you take Celtic only win the league, but they win a knockout tie in the Champions League and go through the last 8? And then also last 16 then get put out there?
Absolutely, every day of the week, only win the league and win a Champions League knockout tie. Won loads of trebles, mate. Loads of trebles.
How many years since we've won a knockout tie?
Exactly. All day long.
That would be my answer as well.
All day long. Right, we take on St Mirren on Sunday. Flag Day, 4:30. What a shambles. Hang your heads in shame. SPFL, Sky Sports, disgraceful behaviour, Darren. But looking ahead to Sunday, what would your starting 11 be? As it stands now?
All the way through?
Yeah.
So I've got Casper in goal, back 4, AJ, Trusty, Carter Vickers and Tierney. Centre midfield, I was obviously I've got Cal Mack in there. Spent a wee bit of time thinking, is it going to go with Negrin for the start or Engels? I've ended up just picking Engels. I've got the evidence to back up. It's just my gut feeling. Obviously, Hatate in there as well. Wingers, I've got Maeda and Forrest. Again, toss a coin whether he starts Forrest or Yang. Usually turns to Forrest as an impact player because he's not really got the legs for 90 minutes. So, and obviously Adam Mead up front because it's not going to be Johnny Kenny, is it? It's looking at it on paper, it's not a terrible lineup, but it's then what you've got on the bench, which is the problem. Obviously, we're all expecting Celtic to win comfortably. With 60,000 fans there, Flag Day, they should be wanting to put on a show and start the league strong. But football doesn't always agree, and it might actually be a contest. So you want impact players to come off the bench, and unfortunately, we just don't have any of those.
Callum, I'll let you go through your team, but maybe a chance for Yamada. Get a nod.
I was going to say that's quite a damning
too early
lineup, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, like as into the team and the players, because it's a really strong team. There's only one player that's new that's walked in the door that starts in your team for the team that lost the cup final.
And he was here before.
Like that's mad. That shows you how poor. And I know we spoke about it. And also just a quick one, because you were saying that it's shameful for 4:30, which is, but you know what else is absolutely shameful is the fake loving for Sky Sports this week that have been going around all the grounds to kid on that they care about the Scottish game because they've got nothing else to show on their TV.
Because the Premier League's not started yet.
Pathetic. See, if you want to really care, come to most of the games. See that time you get to winter and you go, Hearts and Hibs are playing each other. It's not on the telly. Like Celtic are away to Hibs at Easter Road on a Wednesday night. Not on the telly. Like pathetic. So get that in the bin. Stop jumping about, right? But it does matter, right? To my team, I'd go Casper, AJ, I'd go Carter Vickers, Trusty, Kieran Tierney, I'd go McGregor, I'd go Benjamin Nygren, I'd go Rio Hatate, I'd go Forrest, I'd go Dizan, and he's going to play either. He needs to, because if he plays Yamada, which I think wouldn't be a bad option, what does that do to Ida's confidence of almost like Kyogo was here, didn't get a chance. Then Daisen goes up front, didn't get a chance. Now Yamada's up front, didn't get a chance. So I think it needs to be probably Ida, but I think you'll see Yamada, if Ida doesn't have a great, maybe even first half, I think you'll see Yamada straight away into the second half.
The starting 11 prediction is coming up tomorrow. I want to finish, boys, with some predictions for this season. I know you are absolutely buzzing for this, aren't you? So we'll start with Player of the Year. Dan, who's your pick?
That was a hard one. My gut feeling at the time did tell me Daisen Maeda, but I felt that was kind of too easy a choice, and he had such a barnstorming season last season. The bar's just going to be set so high for him, so I feel like even if he has a good season, it's going to be hard for him to take the award of Player of the Season, because he's maybe not had a good season as he did the previous. So I've kind of got my dark horse and I've gone for Kieran Tierney, brackets, if he stays fit, which is a big if. It's kind of one of the things that I was worried about when he came back to the club is, his injury record that he had at Arsenal and the national team. He missed a lot of games, and I think it was one of the reasons why Arteta didn't fancy him at Arsenal. So if he stays fit, which I hope he does, I've gone for Kieran Tierney. It kind of says a lot about the attacking side of things as well. Like, obviously, Maeda, looks like he's now going to be playing more on the left-hand side instead of through the middle. He was doing well on the left-hand side before Kyogo left as well, but it's when he went through the middle that he really started becoming such a fantastic goal scorer, and eventually deservedly won the awards. But it says a lot about our attacking options when you're putting a left-back as a Player of the Year. And then my second choice, if Tierney's injured, is Rio Hatate. I'm watching him pre-season, I think he looks pretty good. I feel like last season he had his moments, but he was a bit inconsistent at times at big games. First one I think of, he had a bad game, was the Ibrox game when we get beat off them. He was really poor that game, but I think if he's a consistent season, he could be really in contention for that.
Callum, Player of the Year?
I'm going to go maybe outside the box for the few players that we've actually signed. I'm going to go Benjamin Nygren. I've got a feeling that I just want to go with somebody that's not like a Rio Hatate or a Daisen Maeda. And I also feel like if the window doesn't go to plan, a lot of people will almost cling on to that freshness, what's in it, and the only really options you've got is Nygren or Yamada. We will still sign other players. I've got no doubt, hopefully. But I'm going to go Benjamin Nygren for Player of the Year.
That was my pick. For Player of the Year as well. Again, a bit like yourself, I almost want it to be a new guy. I don't know why that is. I don't want to psychoanalyse it, but I'd like it if it was one of the... And I've actually been impressed with Nygren in his pre-season and glimpses. Obviously, it's hard to take much of friendlies, but I think he looks comfortable on the ball. I think he looks a wee bit similar to O'Reilly, and if we're going to play him in that position, it looks like he makes similar movements to O'Reilly, and I think Rodgers really helped O'Reilly add goals to his game. So I've went Nygren as well. Top scorer, Dan?
Ida. Pains me to say it, but Adam Ida. Obviously, Maeda looks like he's going to be playing the left. So I think as well, like Ida's first 6 months at the club, he was only making appearances 15 minutes off the bench. Looks like he's going to be starting a lot more games. I would like to think that if he got 20 goals last season from bit part appearances, obviously he did have spells where he would start, but I would think that he should get to, if you're a striker for Celtic and you're playing regularly, doesn't matter if you're great or average, you should be hitting 25 to 30 a season. So I'm going to go for Ida.
It's a big season for Adam Ida, a really big season. Whether he's going to be first choice or no, if it's going to be sharing minutes with Yamada, or if he brings somebody else in, it's still a massive season for him. There's no doubt he's going to score goals. I don't think MD's in doubt that Adam Ida is going to score goals for Celtic. That's what he's done in the year and a half he's been here, scored goals. But I think we're all unsure about whether he's got enough to be like the number one striker over the long term. Callum?
Yeah, I don't think he's the number one striker. I don't think over the season he'll be the guy that we rely on. We go to the well and he's the one that pulls us out of it. I just can't see it from what I've seen of him. I'm just going to throw it out. I'm going to go Yamada. Something totally random again. I could look proper right up here if I get this totally wrong, but I just feel like Yamada's again this fresh idea, something new. Maybe it's the loving that we had for Kyogo, and we almost want him to be the same. Again, he's not the same, he'll be very different. But I think with like his strength, he's a little bit taller. And I've seen some of his goals, not this season but the last season. Some of his finishes are brilliant. So if he can bring that form into this season and definitely hit the ground running, I think Yamada could get off and be a top goal scorer.
I promise you we never compared
You've
answers
not.
before we started recording, but I went Yamada as well. And it probably is just because I've got a Kyogo-shaped hole in my heart, but we'll see. We'll see how he gets on. We'll see how he gets on.
Next Kyogo.
He's just picked that out of love. I've picked it like strategically and I thought of what I see from him.
Sentiment.
We'll see how it goes for Yamada. Last one is a wild card prediction. This could be anything. I know it's a wide scope, but damn.
That was a hard one. That's probably the one that I spent the most time sort of thinking over my head. Whereas I was thinking, the club as a whole or an individual type player. Like, really, I wanted to say this is the season that Celtic win a knockout game in the Champions League. But realistically, I just don't see it happening. I know it sounds very pessimistic, but just when you look at the squad, and I just don't see us even reaching the knockout stages right now. Never mind winning a tie there. So I've kind of went with like a player-based wild card, and it's Arne Engels. And I can just probably see Callum already rolling his eyes there, like, no, definitely not. But I just feel like when he came in last season, he didn't have any pre-season, and he got thrown straight into the team. And there was a lot of pressure on him. I think he was 20 when he signed. I don't know if he's 21 now. It might be coming up for 22. But he was such a young guy, and a lot of spotlight was on him. And he didn't have a bad season. But when you're Celtic's record transfer signing, there's going to be a hell of a lot of spotlight on you, and it can be a lot for a young guy to deal with. Now I feel like he's had that season to bed in. He's had a pre-season, he's went away, training camps, all that sort of stuff. I feel like Kuhn massively benefited from it last season. So why can't Engels? I think he'll have a great season this year.
That's a good point, and I think he's in the same bracket as he did as well. Spent big money on him last summer, but you feel like you want more from him, and hopefully he can deliver it this season. I'll go Ma.
Yeah, you go
wild
first.
card
It's probably the same anyway.
And then just to try and prove that it's not the same as Callum's. This is a negative one though. It's no negative, but I think we're going to lose another key player. If not in the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe in January.
Which player? Which position?
Give us the player. Who do you think?
Pass.
I hope you're wrong.
I'll let you guess.
I hope you're wrong.
So they are.
I hope you're wrong. Can I see it being like a Carter Vickers, because he needs to stay for the World Cup to try and get himself in his best possible situation as at Celtic, because he plays and he's the #1 centre back.
Is that though? Because I feel like national teams, like the way they look at the Scottish League, they don't. It's quite publicly known about Japan's players. It's like why Kyogo never getting. I know like Maeda getting a team, but Kyogo never getting a team, and I think the manager said something to do with like Scottish League or something. So maybe that's a good point. Carter Vickers does get picked. Like, he does get picked for the squads, but he never plays.
No, they have actually got. I think it's a boy Robinson who used to play for like Atlanta and Atlanta.
He's not full. No.
Is it? And then that's Tim Ream. You're thinking of?
No, Anthony Robinson. Is he?
Is that where he is?
I think so.
He may well be there. But that's gone on a bit of a tangent. Probably what Paul's talking about is maybe going to be Hatate. I think Paul just didn't want to admit it or say the words in case he's jinxed it, but I think it might be Hatate.
Realistically, like, it's normal for somebody to always come in for your best players, whether it's Celtic or MD, like, especially if it's your best player who feels like they want to make a step up, they'll probably let their intentions know to the manager that they feel like they want to move on. And then whether it's through an agent or whatever, that kind of gets out that the player feels they want to move. And then the sharks just kind of start circling, and eventually, like, rumours just become true and player moves on.
I think with Hatate, he doesn't really get into the Japan squad, and it's hard because they've got like Endo in there, so they've got a good crux of midfielders, but he doesn't really get picked. Daizan always gets picked for the Japan squad because he's unique. So I think Daizan probably thinks I can do one more year at Celtic, have a good World Cup, and then I'll get my big move. Whereas Hatate, I think right now he could have a blinding of a season, and he still might not get picked. But if he takes a jump to, I'm just guessing here, like a Brighton, a Fulham, and he does really well and can do well in that league, he might think in his mindset, I can get into that squad, I can push there. I think Hatate's now, 26, 27, even 28 possibly. So he's got to get that move. So I think it's... See what you've done? Negative thoughts, see? And it's now pushed me to push Hatate.
It's contagious.
Out of this team. Hopefully I'm wrong, I'm talking absolute nonsense, by the way. And we've got one.
I hope I'm wrong as well, mate, honestly. I really do hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Give us yours.
Wildcard prediction, to the folk that know me, this is just to use. I'd love to get a team bus. This would be fantastic, right? Would love a big Celtic.
Don't say stadium roof,
right?
please.
Team bus, a roof when it gets to winter. See how freezing cold it is and wet it is. A roof would be fantastic as well. Small little thing that does my nut in is the pricing of food. £4.93. Just going to wrap it up to like a fiver. You're doing my nut in.
Such a wild card.
Can you get to your prediction?
No, to my actual real one, to my real one. A wild card prediction is, I think Celtic will lose Hatate, but I think they'll replace him with Lennon Miller.
Oh.
So you kind of are the same as Paul then?
Well, he just pulled me to that, but I wanted Lennon Miller.
I never said Hatate.
But I says that before, like we were speaking about it, Lennon Miller for me, and we talk about Callum McGregor.
I think we'll get him in this transfer window.
Well, my question is why is he not moved now? It's 1st of August and his team starts on Saturday, and he's still not left Motherwell, but he's this big shot and everybody's in for him, and nobody's bid for him. Tells me either one or two things: nobody has genuinely bid for him, or two, he's maybe not accepting what's been put on the table. Whether that's Celtic or not, I don't know. But for a wildcard prediction, I would go with him, somebody that can come in Scottish and help McGregor take a bit of game time off. And we gambled on Engels. I think Lennon Miller is just as good as Engels, and he'll be cheaper, and he knows the Scottish league.
See, I would love to have Lennon Miller, right? But if you look at the centre midfield, is probably the one area of the pitch where we don't need players. Like you've got McGregor. I've obviously spoke in the beginning here about a number 6, like a kind of rough and tough defensive midfielder. But if you look at the centre midfield, starting for the bottom, you get Luke McKibben, obviously Arnie Engels, Rio Hatate, Negrin. Am I missing anybody else?
Bernardo.
Like, we're already oversaturated in that area. I don't see why, unless, like you said, Hatate leaves, spending millions on Lennon Miller when they feel like that's probably already our strongest area of the pitch.
What I would say is, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm a massive fan of Bernardo, but I think Lennon Miller is ahead of Bernardo, and he's younger. I think he's ahead of McCowan. I think he's probably ahead of Engels as well. Again, that's each to their own. Everybody has
a Celtic jersey is a big jersey for an 18-year-old.
Of course, but big Celtic fan. It's another Celtic fan into the club.
Doesn't mean it always rocks though.
That's why it's a wildcard prediction.
Very
Could be
true.
right, could be wrong. Who knows?
So true.
We'll see how it turns out. There you go, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with the starting 11 prediction tomorrow. Please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you then. Cheers.